What's going on, everyone? So, the Los Angeles Lakers need a center, and Nic Claxton is one of the names on the list. Nic Claxton as well as Robert Williams, based on Evan Sidery. Now, the problem is, honestly, I think they should stay away from Robert Williams. I know a lot of people want Robert Williams. I wanted Robert Williams. I was all for Robert Williams if he was the backup, right? The injury concerns are a concern regardless, but it's a lot less concerning when he's your primary backup or your starter and you don't have a primary backup. So I want to talk about Nic Claxton this video, right? Because Nic Claxton is a guy that makes sense. Supposedly, Brooklyn is willing to trade him. I've talked and broken down even a potential 3-team trade, right? Of, hey, go and do a Atlanta Hawks, Brooklyn Nets, and Lakers trade, right? Brooklyn, what do they want more than anything? Clean slate. Expiring contracts, right? Do they really want to take Rui and, Gabe Vincent for a Nic Claxton? Probably not. But you know who does, supposedly, based on reports? Atlanta, right? Because Atlanta just lost Jalen Johnson. And because they just lost Jalen Johnson, they are in the market for a wing. And supposedly they would be interested in taking on Rui Hachimura, who next year is an expiring contract. So if it doesn't work for them, they're not winning a championship this year anyway. Maybe they get some assets out of it and then, get a guy in Rui who can kind of sub in, fill in. And if it's great, give him a new contract. If not, you can look to trade him. $17 million expiring contract. So it would be a win for them. And then you give Brooklyn Nic Claxton or Clint Capella. Right? So Clint Capella goes to Brooklyn. Nic Claxton goes to the Lakers. Everybody's happy. Rui and Gabe Vincent go out. And you clear a roster spot to now bring in another guard, whatever you need to do. But you got that center for you. If you wanted to pluck another piece or two, I know a lot of people want Miles Turner too. I don't know if that's a realistic possibility. Again, you could do the same trade I just laid out, right? Where Claxton goes to Lakers and then Clint Capella goes to the Nets. Well, you could do that same trade and just add the Pacers, and instead of Claxton going to Lakers, Claxton goes to the Pacers, and then Turner goes to the Lakers. But here's the argument for Claxton, right? He's 25 years old. He is the type of, or prototype big that does really well alongside Luka. Look at Daniel Gafford, Derek Lively, right? The athletic, floor running, active, kind of two-way center that, obviously doesn't stretch the floor or anything like that, but a guy that can be that lob threat, block shots at the rim, have a real impact. And I do think Nic Claxton, and again, according to Evan Sidery, he's the guy that we're supposed to keep an eye on. He's the guy we're supposed to keep an eye out. Could you get Claxton and a Day'Ron Sharpe? Because I still think you need a backup. I still don't like Jackson Hayes as like your primary sole backup. I don't mind him as your third backup, right? Your third big. I think if you can't get Day'Ron and Claxton, I think you have to bring in Trey Jamison, because I think you need that. Because the downside to Nic Claxton is he's like 220 pounds, right? So he's an athletic, versatile defensive center, but he's not that big physical interior center that you'd have to match up against Jokic, right? That's where the problem is. That's where the concern is. So I think you need a guy in a Trey Jamison who is, 270 pounds, 6'11", 270, right? I think you need that different look because Nic Claxton is basically a souped up version of Jackson Hayes. But here's the pros. Again, him and Luka are the same age. Nic Claxton is $27 million to trade for right now, but his contract drops every single year, right? So he's a guy that now you have your center and your point guard and Luka for now in the future, right? Now you're just filling in all the other blanks as you go along, right? For right now, it'd be LeBron, right? You still could go get that point of attack defensive piece. I don't hate it. Problem is, it'd be hard to get Claxton and then a 3-and-D defensive wing, but I think it'd be hard to pass up on Nic Claxton, right? Like Clint Capella is an expiring, but I like the security of knowing that center. And Nic Claxton, he's good enough and young enough to where you could probably get your assets back if you wanted to trade him, right? Like, because Lakers don't have 3, 4, 5 firsts to trade, right? So, like, let's say it's a first and, like I said, the 3 teams. So you're helping them clear off salary and you're giving them a first, right? If you can pull that off and that can work, then, I think you'll be able to get another first for Nic Claxton later on down the road. He's a good, serviceable center. Well, how good of a serviceable center is he? Well, let's dive into the numbers here a little bit to kind of give you an idea. So this season, 42 games, which also another big plus, another big caveat. Like I mentioned with Robert Williams doesn't stay healthy. Last year, Nic Claxton played 71 games. The year prior, he played 76 games. Right? So that's good too. Get a center that can be for now and the future and has played, 70 games the last few years. But diving back into this season, 42 games played thus far, started in 34, 26.4 minutes per game. So he's not playing even 30 minutes. It's because they have several different options. But 26.4 minutes. And then field goal percentage, 54.4% on basically 8 attempts, 7.9 attempts. 3-point shooting, he's 0.3. So, again, one every 40 games, right? It's probably like into shot clock and he just has the ball type thing. 2-point percentage, 56.5%. He has an EFG of 54.5%. Free throw shooting. This is his biggest knock, right? This is where the concerns lie. This is Hacka Claxton, right? Instead of Hacka Shack. He is 53.5% from the foul line. Rebounding, though, again, he's playing in 26 minutes a game, 7.5 and 10 points per game with 2 assists, 1 steal, and 1.2 blocks. So again, he's giving you a steal, blocks. If you look at the previous year, however, which he started off, he was unplayably bad to start the season this year. A lot of turmoil, a lot of chaos, right? Like injury, knick-knack stuffs. But he's really starting to get back to being the Nic Claxton, right? So that's something that is beneficial, right? So you look at last year, he averaged 12 points, 10 rebounds, 2.1 assists, a block, and a steal, and 2.1 blocks. He's a guy that averages just under 2 blocks per game for his career. So this is a guy that, again, give you 2 blocks. If you look at his per 36, kind of give you an idea of what can he do if he played 36 minutes a game. This year, he'd be a 13.5 point per game with 10.3 rebounds, 2.7 assists, 1.3 steals, and 2 blocks, right? So, again, gives you the offense, but he'd also be playing alongside Luka and LeBron. So the pick and roll action, the pick and pop action, right? And Luka loves to have just that rolling big, right? That lob threat big, where he can kind of just collapse the defense and then throw the lob. Nic Claxton makes a ton of sense. You look at kind of the options, right? You got, obviously, Walker Kessler would be the best option. I'd still sign me up for some Walker Kessler. I just think it's not super realistic. Never say never, right? Obviously, Lakers got Luka. Crazier things can happen. But I think it's the least likely out of all the scenarios, right? So that would be great. Then you go down the list, Miles Turner. Look, I still believe if you can get Miles Turner, you go get Miles Turner, right? Genuinely, I believe that. But there's rebound issues, rebound concerns, right? The guy's 7 rebound a game type of center, right? So, yeah, but could you argue, well, Luka's going to get you, anywhere from 6 to 8. LeBron's going to get you 6 to 8. You're going to get a bunch of rebounds and stuff like that. You can make those arguments. But, you look at kind of, that's the one knock on Miles Turner. Stretches the floor, right? Can be a guy that can score around the rim, block shots, all of that. Do you go with Claxton because he's younger and cheaper over the next few years? Because, again, his contract drops. By the time his contract's up, it's only $20 million. Miles Turner wants $30+ million, and it's going to keep going, right? Claxton, you can make a genuine argument Claxton might be the best option for the Lakers. Because not only can he protect the rim, he can also switch and defend out on the perimeter, right? So he's a guy that can, you put Jared Vanderbilt and Dorian Finney-Smith alongside them, you're in good shape. Like, you could literally go Luka, Jared Vanderbilt, Dorian Finney-Smith, LeBron James, and Nic Claxton, and just like have that defensive unit with the size and versatility and all that stuff. Right? You can do some creative lineups out there to get some stops, and he's a guy that again can step out, defend out on the perimeter, stay in front of guys because he's got the athleticism and quickness. There is an argument to be made for Nic Claxton to be the guy that the Lakers should go after. I don't hate the idea of a Miles Turner. Nikola Vucevic, I would rather have Vu than nothing, right? That's kind of where I'm at. Like with Vucevic is like if you told me it's him or Jackson Hayes, give me Vu, right? Jonas Valanciunas at this point, I didn't mind him, but again in a backup role, right? Like he's fine in a backup role as your starter, and I maintain this the entire time. For those that are familiar, right? Like what I keep saying, him in a starting role. Absolutely not. Him as a backup, he would be fine. Well, now you need a starting center. So I think Nic Claxton is probably the most. Again, according to Evan Sidery, it's Robert Williams or Nic Claxton were the two names that he said to keep an eye on, right? So if we're supposed to keep an eye on Claxton and Robert Williams, stay away from. Personally, I think you stay as far away from him. Again, I like him. I think he's a good player. Arguably, you can make an argument is probably the best option outside of Walker Kessler when he's healthy, but that's the problem. If he was in a backup role, I'd be more willing to take the gamble. Him in the starting role, I just don't think you can take the gamble. So to me, Nic Claxton, I think, is the answer. I think you need to go get Nic Claxton. I think he's the guy that makes some sense. But anyway, as always, this is a discussion, and I pass the question on you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. What do you think? How do you feel? What are your thoughts? Do you agree? Do you think, like, yes, go get Nic Claxton? Do you think, no, stay as far away from Nic Claxton, go get Miles Turner or somebody else, or don't get anybody? However you feel, whatever your thoughts are, I'd love to hear it either way, so let me know down in the comments below. That being said, if you haven't liked this video, hit that like button. Helps me a lot. It's me enjoy these types of videos, and I truly appreciate it. Not subscribe channel, hit that subscribe button. Turn on the bell notifications. Appreciate y'all. See you in the next one. Thank you.